What's up, y'all? Appreciate you for tapping in. I'm not here to beat a dead horse, but this situation is definitely worth unpacking. Somebody hit me up via email with a solid question. What's the actual financial risk when a public official refuses to comply with a FOIA request? So let's get into it. And I'm keeping it all the way real with you. When it comes to privacy law, transparency, and public access to government records, I know my stuff. Been doing this for a while. So today, we're going to break it all the way down. If you're new here, I'm Marcus, and on this channel, we keep it simple. You get raw legal takes on viral stories, public figures, and all the government drama they hope you don't notice. If this video gives you anything valuable, information, insight, or even a laugh, don't forget to hit that like, drop a comment, share it, and of course, subscribe. And if you really want to show love, consider becoming a member. Members get exclusive live streams, behind-the-scenes content, and early access to new uploads before they drop for the public. Now, back to the story. Most of y'all already know the Tiffany Henyard saga. It started with promise. Young, bold, and the first black female mayor of Dalton. She came with energy, ideas, and the hope of real change. But somewhere along the way, it all unraveled. What looked like progress turned into a disaster. Real chaos. If there was a Financial Clown of the Year award, she'd have it locked down. This is someone who was reportedly making over $300,000 a year at one point, and now she might be sitting on zero. Unless someone in the comments knows different, that's where things stand. But let's circle back to the FOIA situation, because this one's big. There's an active Freedom of Information Act case, and people are asking, did Tiffany even show up to court for it? We pulled the footage. We'll get to that in a second. But here's what matters. Ignoring a FOIA request isn't just a slap on the wrist. If a judge decides a refusal was intentional or reckless, it could cost her thousands personally. And I'm not talking about a small fine. In similar cases, we've seen six-figure legal penalties and fees. That means even though she's technically out of office, Dalton could be stuck with a bill they didn't ask for and definitely don't deserve. The real issue is that she may have left her position, but not the damage. That FOIA case is tied to her decisions, her refusal to turn over records, and all the shady stuff that came with it. If the court connects those dots, it could be a major financial hit, not just to her reputation, but to public funds. Again, because if there's one thing Tiffany Henyard has proven, it's that she's the gift that keeps on giving, just not in the way anyone asked for. So stick around, because what you're about to see is key. We're rolling the court footage to find out whether Tiffany Henyard actually showed up, and spoiler alert, she kind of did, but not in a way that impressed anyone. Plus, we're going to break down what happens next and how this could blow up financially, not just for her, but for the village of Dalton. Trust me, this situation is far from over. Let's get into it. So here's what happened. Tiffany Henyard didn't bother to appear in person for her court date. Instead, she popped in via Zoom, which might sound like no big deal, but it definitely didn't sit well with the judge. In fact, he made it crystal clear that next time, she'd better show up in person. No excuses. That moment, while small on the surface, actually triggered a much larger conversation that's now starting to echo beyond that courtroom. What kind of legal and financial consequences are at play here? Especially with this ongoing FOIA mess that just keeps dragging out. Now, someone emailed me with a very good question. What happens when a public official refuses to comply with a Freedom of Information Act FOIA request? Let me break it down, because it's more serious than most people realize. FOIA isn't just about handing over a couple of documents or checking a box. It's about transparency. It's about accountability. It's about the public's right to know what their government is doing with their money, their trust, and their future. When someone files a FOIA request, whether it's a journalist, a watchdog, or just a concerned resident, the government has a legal duty to respond. They're supposed to either provide the requested information or give a valid, legal reason why they can't. Sure, there are exemptions, like if the info involves personal privacy, national security, or an ongoing law enforcement investigation. But here's the key. You can't just ignore it. And that's exactly what Tiffany Henyard allegedly did. No formal response. No acknowledgement. Just silence. That's not just shady. It's a direct violation of the law. And that kind of negligence, it's expensive. If a government agency or an official flat out ignores a FOIA request, the person requesting the documents can take them to court. And when that happens, if the judge rules in favor of the requester, the agency might not just be ordered to release the documents. They may also be forced to pay the requester's legal fees. At the federal level, we've seen those legal fees soar into the hundreds of thousands. Even in state court, where Dalton's case is playing out, those costs can stack up fast. And it's not just about the money spent in court. It's about who ends up paying that bill. Spoiler alert, it's usually the taxpayers. Yep, the very same people who had nothing to do with Tiffany Henyard's decisions might be the ones footing the bill for her alleged mishandling of public records. And if the judge believes her refusal to comply was intentional or done in bad faith, she could even be personally liable for some of the cost. That would mean money straight out of her own pocket. And let's not forget, this is someone who was reportedly pulling in over $300,000 a year while in office. That kind of salary doesn't just vanish without questions. And yet, here we are, staring down a situation where she could walk away with nothing but lawsuits, legal drama, and a shattered reputation. Now, let's talk about what's really at stake. Even though Tiffany Henyard is no longer the acting mayor, this FOIA case is still tied directly to her time in office. It's about what she did or didn't do while she had the power. So just because she's no longer behind that desk doesn't mean she's free and clear. Her refusal to provide public records, her avoidance of transparency, and the fact that she's now appearing in court via Zoom instead of in person, all of that could come back to bite her and the village of Dalton. It's like a lingering storm cloud. She might be gone, but the damage could be just beginning. Legal fees, delays, appeals, this stuff takes time, and it takes money, and that money has to come from somewhere. So, will Tiffany Henyard end up leaving Dalton with a massive financial mess on her way out the door? That's the million-dollar question. Quite literally. Because here's the real issue. Even though she's out of office, the legal consequences of her behavior are still very much in play. The FOIA case isn't just about political optics. It's about real money, real laws, and real accountability. And now people are starting to ask, who should actually be held responsible for that cost? Should Tiffany be held personally liable for any fines or damages that come out of this case? Or should the village of Dalton, meaning the taxpayers, be stuck holding the bag simply because she acted in her capacity as mayor when the violations happened? It's a tough call. On one hand, you want to believe that public officials should be held personally responsible for misconduct, especially when it's blatant. If she ignored legal obligations and used her position to block transparency, then yeah, it seems fair that she should face consequences herself. But on the flip side, the legal system often sees public officials as acting on behalf of the office. So if she made bad decisions while wearing the mayor hat, the city might still be on the hook, even if the current leadership had nothing to do with it. And that's frustrating, because once again, the public pays for the mess someone else made. So I'm tossing the question to you. What do you think? Should Tiffany Henyard be personally responsible for the legal and financial fallout from this FOIA situation? Or is it just another case of the public paying for the actions of someone who misused their power? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you got anything out of this breakdown, whether it was legal clarity or just a better understanding of what's going on, make sure to hit that like button, share the video with somebody who needs to see it, and subscribe for more real talk on trending legal issues. And if you're feeling extra generous, consider becoming a member for exclusive content and early video access. Until next time, peace.